Man, Fang got packed up quick. Like, it's funny because he wasn't like the main thing going into this arc. He was like this weird surprise mini boss that kind of popped up. But I liked him. It looks though he is done. Like, he seemed to just be somebody who was, for the most part, on their like on the enemy side, kind of like, hey, we need somebody to go and give the Summer Uma enough time to evolve and mature into its further stage. And, I mean, he did it. I liked him. I'm kind of hoping he doesn't die and maybe returns later, but who knows at this point? Like, he got bodied. The only way that he could come back, I think, realistically, is if he somehow obtained a negator power. And I mean that because otherwise they're gonna run through him. Like, he got mauled pretty badly once Shen came back as a zombie, and you have Mui obviously with the untruth ability. I think one of the reasons for that is that Shen obviously as a zombie, he's able to access more of his power, because it's one of those things your brain, and I would assume it'd be in this case because of like, they're still humans, they just have, crazy fictional powers and stuff, but your brain limits like how much power you can actually output, because obviously it would like really do a lot of damage to your body. Like, I think it's like your muscles only do like 10 to 15% or something. It might be 8% of like their actual capabilities, because like if you use like 100%, it would like destroy them and stuff. They would just be putting so much strain, it would just rip them at like all their muscle fibers and stuff. So I assume though, because Shen is a zombie, he doesn't have to abide by any of those things. Kind of like how like Andy would be fine, because like as an undead he'll just heal from it and stuff. But I did like this chapter. It was a really good feel good chapter. It had a really nice kind of like team pulling together moment. The first few lines I actually really liked, because he was like saying how like, yeah, you're strong, you may be strongest in the world, but that's like it. That's all you really are. There's nothing really else to you other than being strong, which is cool. And it's to him, I would imagine it'd be like, if somebody was to compare two characters, and it's like one character who had like a bunch of good content, and a lot of just stuff that they've gone through, and a lot of good material for who they are, versus a character who just is like high power levels and there's like nothing really to them. It just is like, hey, I can fight, and that's really much. That's it. There's no like deeper backstory. There's no like synergy between characters and whatnot. To them, it's just like, for your whole life, all you've done is like want to just get stronger and fight. And it's like cool from the idea of he had this goal that he's really put a lot of effort in. But say like Fang actually got to that point, at least where he's at, like seemingly in his mind of like being the strongest. It's like, but then what? What do you really have to do? I would assume though he would have to exclude some people, because like anybody with like a crazy negator power should be able just to completely walk through him. Like, the only reason that, like, in a realistic scenario, like if he was put in this spot and like with these fights, and he really wanted to fight the strongest that he like in the area, he would have figured out a way to get that card out of Andy's head and pulled Victor out. But Victor would just completely demolish him. That wouldn't have been a fight. Like, Fang is clearly strong, but like Victor would probably, at the very most, low diff him, completely just run through him and clobber him. But while they're fighting, I did really like the point where it was like he was just moving forward without realizing it, because Moy was using her untruth power, and he was actually advancing towards them. It wasn't Shen and Moy who were moving to him. He was actually moving to them, because she was reversing what he wanted to do, because he actually wanted to get away from Shen, because he acknowledged that he was stronger than him right now. And I actually liked his response to it. I thought that was cool, because he's like, oh, that's just my body acknowledging that you're stronger. So, then in his mind, like, that's what he wanted. He wanted to fight stronger opponents so he could overcome them, and then, rise the ladder and become the strongest there was. And I actually kind of like that, just from his response, and the idea that it wasn't like, oh no, I'm running away. Like, he just kind of like realizing that the situation, and then kind of have like one of those bad guy kind of like their persona breaks, is like when they they do the whole like getting close to loser, and they start to come like impossible kind of things. it's one of those bad guy moments you see a lot, but at the same time, when they get into like when they get put in a corner, you can kind of understand where they're just like, you know, in their mindset, like, oh shit. But with him, he was like happy about it because that's obviously what he wanted. But this was not something that he was really going to defeat in this scenario. Like, he's a guy with no real powers up against a hacks combo with a very powerful martial artist who's now a zombie. So Shen seems to just have generally more power than capable, like with his whole zombie boost. And now we have the Summer Uma powered up. It's evolved. Apparently, it has the highest attack power of the seasonal Umas. And on top of that, the only way to kill it is to take down those, like, I would assume the balls on its stomach. He says the scales, but I'm guessing just because of the way that it looks, like each of them kind of looks like a target. So I would assume we just destroy each of those at the same time or within like a certain time interval, and you're good. And we have a bunch of other characters like arriving. Like we've got, we've got Tatiana. I feel like Tatiana, if they put Tatiana up there and then have her get out of that that containment orb, she would probably be able to take out multiple of those orbs by herself. Like, we saw her AoE when she was just demolishing the cruise ship. She's clearly very powerful. And her power, I would assume, is just like, it would just kind of pressurize and crush anything that would come in contact with by her whole untouchable ability. But also, I think it's Phil. I get Phil and Top mixed up. Because, like, the only thing that I know is, obviously, when it comes to those characters is they're pretty young, but we haven't really had much for either of them, so I don't really have we don't have a lot of experience interacting with those characters for me at least to really kind of understand how things are, or like to kind of differentiate between the two of them very much. Like, I would have to literally go back and look at like their chapters where their names are stated, or look them up on a wiki page for me to really be able to pinpoint which is which. Just because again, right now we haven't gotten a lot of content with them, but all of these guys coming in. Chikara is there as well. I'm very excited to see how the battle for them is going to go. And it was cool that we had the Apocalypse book actually reveal the information about the Summer Uma because of Mui was using her untruth ability on him. So he was saying all these things without realizing it under the effects of it, which was pretty neat. I actually like that. We were able to essentially figure out a way to cheat this book. So if they can kind of trick him in more scenarios to get information, with like if they could kind of just talk to him and get Mui in the room where she just is looking at him without him realizing, they could find out a lot of information that he otherwise wouldn't divulge. The design on the Summer Uma in its full set is really cool. It's like this big weird like Eastern dragon centipede with like the fused mustache and these like fiery cannons on the sides of its head. It looks badass. I do like the design a lot. And they like all the characters uniting. They're having like a good team moment of being like, we're gonna unite all of our abilities, we're gonna come together, and we're gonna take this guy down. I thought that was really cool, and it really gave like a good follow-up vibe from the whole idea that Shen was, eventually trying to just kind of like sacrifice everything to take down this one guy in this like kind of like power, not like a power struggle, but this kind of like power setup where Fang obviously wanted to force him to become stronger. It was like this game of cat and mouse of singular character strength, and then Shen obviously kind of coming to this realization. It's like, it doesn't really matter which of us is stronger, or like who's stronger. This is a team effort kind of thing. We're not going to be able to do any of this solo. That's why they're working in groups, and all the characters kind of grouping back up and uniting was really cool as like an immediate again follow up on that content. So I like this chapter. This is a really good one, a really good feel good team chapter as well, and I can't wait to see their powers on display in the next chapter. I think it'll be really cool just to see everyone doing combos and strategic moves together in order to take down the Summer Uma. So we have the Autumn Uma, the Summer Uma. Was it the Winter Uma? I think was already kind of like messing with Juiz and Billy. So it should just be the Spring Uma left, right? I have to go back and look, because I think the Spring one is that like, I think it was that kind of like Shogun looking one that was like in a big flower field. That one looked really cool. So we'll see where this is going to go in the next couple chapters, see like how these fights are really going to to really progress, because we're going to be over halfway done, I would assume, after this next chapter. So other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, befriend the like button, subscribe button, and tell me exactly how your thoughts are about like Shen's progress right now in this one. I think it's pretty good. Other than that, thank you everyone who's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.